GGMC Grand Final.
The
this
grand
is it.
final.
We're
Here we are. The handshake. Marcus Peck versus Chris Shaw.
This is for everything. This is for a trip to any GP in the world.
Any GP of your choice. We were speculating earlier that we think that Europe might be the best place to go. You know, the most ease of access to travel around, turn into a big old holiday. But these guys would be happy to go anywhere in the world on good game's dime.
It's Queensland versus New South Wales. It's state of origin.
The big match.
It's red versus
Burgundy versus the I don't know rugby very well.
Blue of New South Wales, which is being portrayed as green today.
Yeah.
Mostly green.
Marcus Peck through to the finals with his Ramming Up Reds deck, taking out a.
And we've watched, as you pointed out, we've watched every single one of Chris's matches from Manny through Denby to now Marcus.
Team Energy rock solid. It's a good, you can play early, you can play late, and same with Ramming Up Red. I think we're going to watch a really interesting match here.
There it is, Ramming Up Ruins. Isaac's already tipping that will be a key part of this match.
Snake Eyes there for Marcus. He's already losing the die roll. All right, so we've got Team Energy on the play. This gives him an advantage over 3 games, really. Red deck really prefer to be on the play, especially in this matchup where Chris can also commit to the board relatively quickly. But anything can happen in a game of Magic, as we've seen over the last couple of matches, and it'll be on Marcus to get a fast start here, though. Both players to get their 7.
So multiple shocks in the hand of the Ramming Up Red player there, Marcus, and no turn 1 play from the Team Energy deck, which generally means no attune with Aether and untapped green sources.
Here comes the Bomat Courier, stacking a card underneath it.
It's been the
card of the tournament, I would say. So we've just seen Bomat Couriers all over the shop.
Yeah. And largely paying off, doing a good job.
Yeah.
Getting an early damage, getting you an option for
no
some card advantage.
No from Team Energy here as well. What do you think that represents?
It represents a lack of 2-drops in his hand, but there's also
possibly Harness Lightning.
A very real possibility of a removal spell here. Chris, Marcus doing his best to kind of obsolete it by playing a second Bomat Courier.
Oh, okay, 2 of them.
Getting his attack triggers on with the trigger on the stack. He's going to Harness Lightning to net 2 energy and a killed Courier.
Yeah.
Remove the most powerful, the most stacked of the Bomat Couriers. Though we need to keep resolving these triggers.
Needs to get a card underneath his Bomat. I think that's what Chris just said, didn't he? So,
one under the dead Bomat, one under the live Bomat. Yeah. So 18 life for Chris Shaw. This is a pretty good start for the Team Energy deck.
Red, pretty happy. He's got 3 1-drops so far. Nothing on the board for Team Energy, but again, like you said, he'd be pretty happy with surviving.
The follow up 1-drop into tapped Rootbound Crag for Chris is means that the game. I would put Marcus slightly ahead in this spot. Just not being able to play a creature here in this situation is good news for Marcus.
So Chris has managed to use Harness Lightning to get a bit of energy out there, which is going to help him if he gets some of his
Earthshaker Kenra from Marcus to add another hasty threat to the board.
Right.
So he's got
starting to look like
4 power of guys, at least a shock, maybe 2 in hand to maybe trigger the prowess on the Soulscar Mage.
I would not be surprised to see shock go upstairs here to deal an extra 3 points of damage overall with the prowess trigger. I think Chris is kind of debating whether or not he wants to let Earthshaker Kenra resolve, representing that he has his singleton copy of Essence Scatter in hand. No, I think he's holding it for a better day, and he's got a card like Harness Lightning to cast anyway, so he can clear out that Bomat Courier before it accrues a second card.
So, if I was in this position, I'd just shock in the face, because you're not going to have heaps and heaps of things to aim that shock at that's not them.
I would almost certainly shock the face here.
But he hasn't done it, so he's saving it for something else. Maybe a 7 of the Conduit.
If my hand lacked a card like Arncrop Crasher or a follow-up, particularly Arncrop Crasher, I think that I would potentially save the shock here. Maybe the 1 damage is not worth as much as the potential to clear away a Rogue Refiner or a Servant of the Conduit that might come into play and be pesky, blocking next turn.
What's Chris drawn off his original hand that he's wanted to keep? Because he's not been able to play any kind of creatures.
He's actually just cycled Sheltered Thicket in the main phase, played the Aether Hub, which and then the Servant of the Conduit. Which again we were saying is a reason that you keep that shock.
This is precisely the situation I was talking about before. I'm not shocking end step here, keeping the shock to for his turn to get the powerhouse trigger. It means that Marcus isn't looking to curve out explicitly. He hasn't got a hazard that he needs to cast on curve here. He's just going to shock away the Bomat Courier. The Servant of the Conduit, get the extra damage in.
Or just Earthshaker
Or
Kenra.
just Earthshaker Kenra, though I'd be...
And another Bomat Courier. So 3 Bomat Couriers, 2 Earthshaker Kenras.
Yeah.
This is a lot of
It's
damage.
a big old attack for 6
Yeah.
here. The real question is, bearing in mind that you have a shock in hand, are you shocking the Servant of the Conduit here, or are you just going to go to the face?
Mm-hmm. So he's taking
he's just shipping it. He's letting him
5,
untap with
6
5 mana.
damage. Chris is on 9. Chris hasn't had a very board effective... Like, his board's not really developing.
That's what I was wondering about that starting hand. He's got to have looked at that and gone, I'm not going to get my board state into a good shape very quickly.
Well,
I'll
if
be
his
drawing
opponent
it.
didn't have multiple 1 and 2 drops, he's going to be a little bit more constricted with what he has, and so Harness Lightning hitting something like an Arm Crop Crash, you're pretty happy with that. You don't want to be burning them on 1 once for 1, but that's what he's had to do. He does have a Chandra here, which he's probably just going to have to kill something.
Yeah,
right?
just trade it in for what you can. It's trading very mana inefficiently, but you can't. Beggars cannot be choosers.
It's killing off
as
the
saying
Earthshaker
goes.
Kenra there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty reasonable to say that Chris's hand was land heavy to begin with, probably containing both those Harness Lightnings. Otherwise,
there goes the
why would he keep this hand?
And the end of turn shock on the Servant of the Conduit to clear the way for Earthshaker, Soulscar Mage, and the Bomat Courier that's still alive.
It's interesting to me that he wouldn't just shock on his turn
To get the prowess
to get the
trigger.
extra prowess damage in.
He's taking
It may
another
be that
damage from the desert.
Maybe he thinks that. Maybe he thinks that he was waiting for a better opportunity with a killer card like Rogue Refiner. Alternatively, maybe he thought that just because the way Chris has played out his hand, he's cycled a land on turn 4. That Chris is mana heavy enough that he's not really caking any card away from Chris by killing. He's not cutting off the ability to cast a card like Glorybringer by killing the Servant of the Conduit. So he's just going to find out what's going on here.
Mark is putting Chris to 6 here.
Yeah.
Can you see him getting out of this
I know,
situation?
right? It doesn't look like
He's got 2 cards under his Bomat Courier and no cards in hand, so we can cash it in for 3 next turn, potentially. Rogue Refiner have to draw a removal spell here to even consider being in, but he's got 3 deserts out, including a Ramonap Ruins. Like, every land is another 2 damage to Chris's face.
Yeah.
Conceivably, I mean, the best way that Chris would have to win this game was to cast Well of Virtuoso on this turn, where he can present multiple blockers, and then parlay
Get
that
wide.
kind of like life total stability, just for a very brief window, into some Glorybringer attacks.
But Marcus is just under no pressure, so it's just the game's practically
So
over
it needs to
from
get
this point.
wide, and then. But he's got a lot of energy there. Could he get? If he got something big out there quickly?
Not enough. If Hydra and Glorybringer are the biggest things in your deck, the red deck is now reanimating Earthshaker Kenra as a 4/4.
This is all over Red
This
Rover,
is all
really.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said,
The
I
Rogue
think
Refiner can't block.
Well of Virtuoso was the card that was potentially going to get him back in this game, but here we are. Another Harness Lighting is just
On the
it's
4/4.
It's just there's not enough fingers to stem the leaks in the dike at the moment. So
Still taking 3/4. Still got those 3 cards under the Bomat Courier.
yeah, but with Ramonap Ruins in play, I'd be
There's only
shocked if
2.
Chris doesn't
One
look at his top
activation of
card,
Ramonap Ruins.
look at his card,
If
and
there
pack
was
it up.
some
for the next
card that turned energy into life out of the sideboard,
that might be where I would start looking. But yep, here we go. Pack up.
Scooping it up, yeah. So Marcus Peck takes game 1.
Quick fashion. It's a great start, especially against a hand that's like just relying on spot removal. Going 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop really makes it difficult for the.
And he was on the draw there as well.
Yeah,
so
it
he's
makes
going to get at least 1 game on the play if he doesn't win the next one.
That's right. That was about as good as it possibly gone for Marcus. Really, yeah. When your opponent's hand is 2 mana removal spell heavy, if he'd gone Karizev, Uncrop Crasher, it would have the Harness Lightnings would have looked so good.
Mm-hmm. But when you're just knocking off a Bomat Courier with 1 or 2 cards under it, you're not impressed. Like
You're trading 2 mana and 1 card for your opponent's 1 mana and 1 card. It's just really hard to get ahead like that when your opponent has like a density of threats.
Quick look at Chandra's defeat there, which we haven't seen.
Chandra's defeat is a pretty obvious card that can come in from the sideboard.
For
Sort of
for
on
either deck.
from both parties, honestly. I would be less inclined to bring it in as a red player, but maybe if you think that it's your best way to answer a card like Well of Virtuoso, then so be it. But with
You bring in the Abrade to deal with that as well.
I would definitely be bringing in the extra Abrade. You just want the 2 mana. You just want cheap ways to interact, and you can't really have a removal spell like Chandra's Defeat rotting in your hand when they're playing all green and blue creatures.
We saw Chris bring in
Yeah.
Glyph
I
Keeper
was just
against
checking
Denby Adams in the semi-final. Do you think that's a strategy that he's going to stick with? I mean, like, it seems like just another kind of Hydra in this matchup, right?
is
Something
like
that
another
will
Hydra.
kill them.
it is just like another Hydra in the sense that it's difficult to deal with threat. It also attacks over a board stall pretty effectively because it has flying. Mm-hmm. Mostly, if I was just thought I was playing as a basic normal Ramen Up Red deck, I think Glyphkeeper's got added bonus of just being able to be hexproof, so it can't get Uncrop Crashed.
Yep.
Which is like the pivot.
But it can't even block the Uncrop Crasher like very effectively. Though. It's always just going to die.
I'd be happy to
trade it.
off.
Yeah.
In that situation, and it can conceivably block all 2-power guys.
Yeah.
What's unique about Marcus's list is that he doesn't have Uncrop Crasher in the main. He has those main deck Rampaging Ferocidons, and if he's got cards like Ferocidon in the main deck, he's clearly identified that he wants those cards against Teemo more than he wants cards like Uncrop Crasher. So he'd be uninclined to bring Uncrop Crasher in, I believe.
Because you would expect them to not be boarding.
Yeah, he's made a decision. He's consciously chosen to leave Uncrop Crasher in his sideboard because he doesn't think it's good against Teemo. Mm-hmm. That's my read on the situation, at the very least. So he's unlikely to bring Uncrop Crasher in this matchup. It doesn't match up very well against the cards that are the most important in this matchup, which is Well of Virtuoso and Bristling Hydra.
I think we're going to see a lot of Chandra's defeats. Yeah, traded back and forth, killing Virtuosos, random like Chandra, like it kills Chandra pretty effectively. What's the bonus on killing the Chandra?
I think you get to rummage.
You get to discard and draw.
I believe.
Don't quote me on it. Chandra's defeat.
Do not
Deals
quote me
10
on
damage
it.
to their face or something. Pianala might want to bring that in as
we saw Chris's semi-final opponent. What was their name?
Denby.
Yeah, we saw Denby bring it in against Chris, and I'm uninclined to bring a card like that into this matchup. Mm-hmm. It has like a little bit of utility. It's 2 bodies for 1, but Well of Virtuoso obsoletes 1/1 flyers pretty badly, and the 2/2 doesn't attack against a lot of the creatures that the team deck has.
And there's not much stuff you're pumping with the abilities.
Yeah, sure, maybe you can pump it, but you don't have other targets to pump.
Yep.
You haven't seen the Aethersphere Harvester at any time as well. What sort of decks do they get brought in against?
In the mirror match, if a Braid deals with it extremely well, you may actually bring it in this matchup. But Harness Lightning again just kills you. You've got a lot of excess energy lying around, so it's a bit of a liability to like spend one of your creatures crewing it, and then they can just kill it with one of their regular removal spells.
And what's the usual function of putting it in?
To gain a bit of life, so you gain 2 energy when it enters, and then you can pay an energy to give it lifelink. But this Aethersphere Harvest is coming out of the sideboard of the red deck, so you're just hoping to get 2 lifelink hits in against the mirror match.
It's less about gaining life in if you were to bring it in this matchup, and more that you think flyers are very, very good here.
Mm-hmm. Which is why the Glyphkeeper probably is around,
the board can get gummed up pretty quickly by the Teamer deck.
Marcus is mulliganing.
Yeah, we've got Marcus on the mulligan here. The Teamer deck can gum the board up, the ground up pretty effectively against the red deck. So maybe you think that you just want a critical mass of flyers as best you can, and that lets you get over those kind of board stalls where you just can't remove a card like Bristling Hydra. Mm-hmm. I'd be surprised if he brings it in, but I wouldn't be stunned. I don't think it's necessarily a mistake to bring
on a 0 to 10. It'd be where 0 is 0 stun and 10 is fully on your back looking at the ceiling stun.
Probably like a 2 or a 3.
Wow, that's not very stunned at all.
No, not very stunned.
Good. Right.
Low stun.
Low stun is what we call that. That's what the Stormtroopers use.
Phases.
Stun. If you're going to shoot Princess Leia or something like that.
Phases on stun is a Star Trek reference. So.
Yeah, just shoot
Princess
Leia from Star Trek.
No, Princess Leia's in Star Trek, isn't she? No, you know what? Princess Leia's putting the thing in R2D2. Instead of just like blowing the crap out of her and having done with the whole series, they go, set your phases to stun or some shit like that, don't they?
They don't say set your phases. They don't have phases in Star Wars.
What do they do? Set your
lasers.
Vader says he wants to take her alive.
Take her alive, yeah.
She's no good to me dead.
Back to the Star Wars.
Use your low-pressure gun.
I'm sure they say stun at some stage.
So Marcus scrying to the bottom on the draw as the red deck. Does he have the 1-drop? Oh, it's a Soulscar Mage. Here we go. No turn 1 attune with Aether from the energy deck.
No, we're Red Mana Light here.
Red Mana gets us 1 energy. Was that Botanical Sanctum?
Something you don't love doing as the energy deck is using your energy to cast red spells like Harness Lightning, but you generally get a little bit back anyway.
That is true, though. In this situation, maybe if I was definitely going to be casting my Harness Lightning, I might have been inclined to cast it on my turn on that Soulscar Mage, just because way I'm not letting my opponent cast a Lightning Strike to my face to make me pay 3 energy to not have so I don't wind up with 0 energy afterwards.
And a terrible mana base,
Yeah, and just only green and blue mana.
Still missing the red mana here, but he produces it off the Aether Hub to go up to just 3.
I was saying the Cub was the workhorse of the GGMC, but it's really been Bomac Courier, hasn't it?
Courier has been doing a lot of work.
This
is one of the first times that we've seen Well of Virtuoso on the board.
Yeah.
and on turn 3, which is that big turn where Bomat Courier is still active, and you've got Soulscar Mage, and it shuts both of those down so effectively.
It's gone well for Chris opening up in the beginning of this game.
Mm-hmm. So we have Ferocity here, and Chris just making a Thopter in response not to mitigate the possibility of losing life to
taking the damage
Rampaging Ferociton's ability. Mm-hmm. No attacks, obviously, from...
Well, the Virtuoso still blocks Ferociton really well as well, because it's two blocks.
It is two
bodies.
That's a good play. I think you went through it a bit quickly there. So the Well of Virtuoso making that Thopter
in response to Ferociton coming into play, so as not to lose life.
Yeah,
and he's just curved out with Virtuoso into Bristling Hydra, and he's just going to sit back on defense. Do you think?
I'm pretty sure I'm playing D here. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to chip in for 1 damage. It's not going to with a Thopter. This game isn't going to be won or lost by 1 point of damage. When Chris wins the game, he's going to win the game by a lot. He wants to make sure that if Well of Virtuoso gets removed, that he doesn't have to take 3 damage from a card like Rampaging Ferociton.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly the spot that the kind of team deck wants to be in, as we've seen in other matchups. Yeah. You know, we're sitting behind Hydra and a couple of other creatures, making it quite difficult for the red deck to make any kind of progress on the board. This is, again, why I was saying that maybe it wouldn't shock me if you bring in a card like Aethersphere Harvester. Mm-hmm. Just take the battle from the ground to the skies and force them to fight on another axis.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, if the red deck is trying to get you to 8 to 10, so to finish you off with Hazoret triggers, Ramen Up Ruins triggers, the Aethersphere Harvest is another thing that's going to push
it's so
those
devastating when you're playing red aggro. Just like any kind of life
through.
gain, just like 2, 3, 4 here or there, it does make you just like, oh, it took me so much effort just to get you down there.
So Rampaging Ferociton coming in here, there's a pretty easy double block here for Chris, which is he can block with. Well, maybe this is not an easy double block, but he has two blocks available. He can block Thopter Well of Virtuoso, he can block Thopter Hydra, or he can block Well of Virtuoso Hydra, but I don't think that's a sensible block. I think
this is interesting. He's actually activated Hydra's ability before blocks, which has left it open to be abraded in response.
I think that he was... Oh, was he activating Hydra in response?
And now he's eaten the second removal spell to just completely wipe the Team of Energy's board. So just before, Team of Energy in the commanding defensive position, he took a bit of a gamble leaving the Hydra open, and the red deck had double removal spell to just completely blow out the double block.
I'm not sure I fully understand Chris's thinking there, though he may be thinking that if my opponent only has 1 removal spell, he'll be forced to cast it here.
And then I can make a safe double block?
Then I can make my relatively safe double block.
Mm-hmm. But he also had the second Whirl of Virtuoso in hand here, so maybe he thought he was a bit insured.
Start building again,
If
Chris.
I felt as though I was insured, I would be much less likely to sacrifice my Hydra like that. I think I would have just shoved my Virtuoso on my token in front of the Ferociton and asked Chris what's up. Asked Marcus what's up.
Yeah. So sitting behind a Virtuoso that's still pinging him for every Thopter that he makes because of Marcus's Ferocitons. Bomat Courier sitting there pretty lamely. Maybe not the card of the tournament if it's just...
Don't take the title from him. I've already awarded it.
I've already given it to
MVP. Is there 2 Ferocitons out there at the moment?
Chandra.
No, there's one Ferocitron, a Soulscar Mage, and a battle
Chandra.
Bomat Courier.
Yeah.
And now Chandra's been added to the board.
Yeah.
I believe he's just going to -4 and hit the Well of Virtuoso, forcing Chris to make a move, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So quickly make a Thopter?
Apparently that's a... Apparently, no, it's still on 4. Sorry, I thought that was a single dot on the...
Me too. He'll make a Thopter.
Flame slashing.
Yeah, Chris can either make a Thopter in response or save the energy for another card.
I like Chris not making a Thopter here. Because it's going to take him off second red for his Glorybringer in hand if he uses all his energy to make a Thopter in this situation. And if the Thopter just gets removed, then that's not a great situation.
Then you've lost the game on the spot, practically.
Whereas here now he has the opportunity to untap, cast Glorybringer, exert, kill Rampaging Ferociton, and kill Chandra, leaving just Soulscar Mage and Bomat Courier behind.
And you've glossed over, the GGMC workhorse there.
Bomat Courier getting him for another point of damage.
And another card.
Yeah.
We're definitely at the point where Bomat Courier is threatening to draw a lot of cards.
Because when you attack and exert with Glorybringer, you can't really afford to hit the Bomat Courier. You have to hit the Ferociton
you have
to save
the
life.
Ferociton here. It's dealing too much damage and your life total's too low at this point in
now,
time.
this is interesting. We'll see whether his opponent whether Marcus has the Chandra's defeat.
No, I don't think Marcus has any cards in hand.
No cards in hand.
No cards.
So Glorybringer doing the 3-for-1. A body on the board, killing Chandra with haste, and exerting to kill the Ferociton.
This is a good spot because there's no Ramen Up Ruins in play. The life total's low, but not desperately low. 9 life going to 7 is not such a huge... It's not an insurmountable position to be in. I wouldn't be shocked if Marcus just sacked his Bomat Courier here, to be perfectly honest.
To draw 3, I think he's going to go for the 4th card.
He may be willing to wait another turn, though I'd be surprised.
Especially because Glorybringer's exerted, yeah.
This might just cost him a draw step.
But this is what we were talking about earlier, though, with this Teamer Energy deck. It's just like every card is just useful the whole way through, where you can get cards in Ramming Up Ruins
but
red, which
nothing
is not going to be
kind
really
of stabilize your life total from this point, because like Marcus is 1 Ramming Up Ruins away from 4 damage from the Sunscorched Desert that he's got in play and sacking the ruins itself. Who knows what cards are underneath the Bomat Courier there as well.
He wasn't willing to have a
4
look.
mana for
Chandra here.
Chandra again.
He's going to snipe out the Glorybringer.
Going to poke that Glorybringer out of the sky.
Yeah.
And then he's got no cards in hand, so he can draw 4 cards after he attacks with Bomat Courier.
The reason I was suggesting drawing with Bomat Courier last turn is because he had 6 mana essentially going to waste. So if you draw on a card like Chandra off of your Bomat Courier that turn, then you get an extra turn with Chandra in play. If it's just creatures, you can develop your board and put a lot of pressure on Chris.
Yeah.
Although, like, I understand the rationale of not cashing it in there. You think that you're probably likely to be safe, especially because Glorybringer's not untapping that turn because it was exerted. Maybe you can get another bite at the cherry with Bomat Courier, which is not the end of the world.
As Marcus, you feel pretty safe right now. Like, you're on 20 life. You've got all these cards under Courier.
It's interesting. Marcus defending... Chris defending his life total here, not forcing the sacrifice of the Bomat Courier.
Blocking the Soul Scar Mage.
Which is a 2-3 because of the casting of Chandra.
And Marcus has still no cards in hand.
Yeah, Marcus is empty-handed, though he has 4 virtual cards hidden under the Bomat Courier.
Yeah.
He's just debating whether or not he wants to go looking for another... Like, if he finds a shock off those 4 cards from the Bomat Courier, then he can force Chris... Nah, he doesn't really get anything good out of that situation.
Yeah. You were going to say he could draw some sort of burn spell
to pump up the
Soul
Scar Mage again, forcing Chris to spend energy, but that's not really in his best interest. I think he just needs to...
What's funny is blocking on the Soul Scar Mage now, Marcus is kind of tempted to attack to get 5 cards off the Bomat Courier next turn.
Look, I think if you're not going to sacrifice on 3 cards there, and with your mana up, I definitely don't think you're sacrificing here.
Chandra pre-combat saw how he would block, and then -3 Chandra to kill the Glorybringer post-combat.
I think that's a sensible play. Just find out what's
Marcus
up.
just had a look through his graveyard there. Is that sort of to give him a bit of an idea about what cards could be under Bomat? Is that what he was doing, or was there a particular
I think he's
card
just
in
checking
play?
to see if there's Earthshaker Kenraz in there.
Oh, okay, he's eternalizing.
Yeah.
Just
Rogue
keeping track
Refiner
of that.
here, which will be a sufficient enough body to block that Bomat Courier. He probably might have to swing in at the Chandra just to make sure that he's not getting domed for 2 every turn.
Definitely killing Chandra here with Hydra. And so here we are again. If this is Well of Virtuoso, then suddenly the game's different.
Well, a Virtuoso.
Yeah. Okay, so
10 energy.
So we get 5 cards off Bomat Courier here, which is a great redraw, but life total is under significant pressure. So if he doesn't find a lot of reach,
so Marcus needs a lightning strike or 2, or a Ramming Up Ruins and another desert, and the game's practically
he needs cards
done.
like that. So you got Car Reserve.
That was what that was it?
Yeah, I think I got a Car Reserve.
Just playing it as it's a Harsh Mentor.
Oh, Harsh Mentor, apparently.
So this is interesting because Chris will have to choose whether to activate his Well of Virtuoso.
It's less a matter of whether if he will or not, but how many times.
How many times.
Yeah, making 2 Thopters there before Harsh Mentor come into play, save himself 4 life. But keeping the extra energy around to protect that Hydra if need be.
Taking 2 damage for the process, but keeping your big beefy guy around.
The Hydra represents enough of a clock in this situation that we can be. So that he needs. It's worth protecting.
Rogue swings in.
Rogue Refiner jumping in the way, and Mark's drawn 5 cards.
Spells. 5 whole spells.
There's another Harsh Mentor in there, which I can see. A desert.
Sunscorched Desert, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. So full of gas, but
pinging him for 1
takes them down to 5.
You really need to find some reach here if you're Marcus. You don't. You can't rely on getting through on the board anymore. Well, Virtuoso has made that essentially impossible.
So Chris has got to kill him as quick.
Yeah, Chris is going to try and end the game over 2 turns.
Yeah. Yep. So the Harsh Mentor number 2.
The more creatures you put into play here, the slower that the more cautious Chris has to be. He can't just kind of jam with everything and assume that's going to be good enough. But he was really hoping to find a card like Lightning Strike here. Which would make any Ramming Up Ruins lethal.
Bomat Courier, maybe not the the best presents that it brought you. I guess that's the problem with
I
mystery boxes.
I don't think you're going to ever complain about 5 random cards when you have nothing in hand.
So is that a swinging with the high? No, it's not a swinging. He's tapped. Oh,
Chris is just summing up his attacks here, figuring out what happens when my Will of Virtuoso dies.
Here it goes.
Yeah, this is a decent attack from Chris, in my opinion. The
Will of Virtuoso Rogue Refiner?
I wouldn't send the Rogue Refiner in. I don't think it's necessary to send the Rogue Refiner in. I think that attacking with Will of Virtuoso is fine because it's kind of
lost its trade it for a Harsh Mentor.
It's sort of lost its usefulness. If you know what I mean.
It's already activate it with the 2/2s out anyway. So
yeah, it's made its tokens.
Yeah.
Shock happening here.
5 life. You don't want to be losing.
No, it's Chandra's Defeat.
There's
on
Chandra's
the
Defeat
Well of
right
Virtuoso.
There. So he did bring Chandra's Defeat in, which is interesting. You look at the you see it like taking out a Will of Virtuoso. It's already kind of done its damage. Yeah, this is why I would kind of. And maybe he's got that card in over something more universally useful like Lightning Strike or whatnot. You also know that like attacking with Will of Virtuoso there has played around cards like Chandra's Defeat, removing a blocker as well.
Glorybringer's already in the bin, so you're not going to be aiming a Chandra's Defeat at it. I mean, a Glorybringer would be pretty fantastic on the board right now.
Yes, but I think Chris just needs to preserve his... Marcus needs to preserve his life total here, just to buy more time to draw cards like Lightning Strike and Ramming Up Ruins. Yeah, getting through on the ground again is basically impossible right now. It's all about reach.
So
there's another Harsh Mentor.
Three Harsh Mentors out, so not activating anything ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. We've got a one Thopter block, so we have 2 blockers against 4 powers worth of attackers.
Does Chris have any cards in hand?
Chris does have a couple of cards in hand.
So attacking with...
What is he leaving back there?
Is he leaving back the Harsh Mentor he just played?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the Harsh Mentor he just cast, of course, yes.
So taking 2 here and eating a Chandra's Defeat on the unblocked Harsh Mentor. So Rogue Refiner is going to trade off for one of the Harsh Mentors, the Earthshaker Kenra, available to be eternalized next turn, but that traded off for a Thopter.
Now, this attack makes sense if he's just going to be spending his next couple of turns unearthing Earthshaker Kenras.
And a post-combat Soulscar Mage. So
empty grip again.
Marcus Hellbent, but an Earthshaker Kenra to bring back next turn.
How aggressive do you think you can be here with Hydra if you're Chris?
You just can't. Like you just need to. Well,
it's not to
activate the.
Really,
that's good. Deathgorge Scavenger, exiling something to gain some life.
Bolstering his life total and removing a powerful unearthed threat from Marcus's graveyard.
Oh, so goodbye, Eternalize.
There is another Earthshaker Kenra in there, but it's taken away the opportunity to go unearth.
Life gain there?
Against 2 life if you remove a creature, and it gets +1/+1 if you remove a.
And he's taking the aggressive route with the Hydra correctly identifying you need to be pressuring him because you are just dead to so many different draws in this deck, right?
Yeah. There's definitely need to just keep the pressure on here, shorten the game.
The Hydra is essentially not bulletproof at the moment because of the Harsh Mentor, right? You don't want to.
Yeah, you're going to take 2 damage for the luxury of making it hexproof. Interesting situations in this game. Marcus's life total is dwindling.
Yeah.
Chris seems dead to so many different top decks, but it's going to take a little while to chew through it.
He's hanging in there.
Attacking in with the Harsh Mentor.
This is a fine attack here because the only option Chris has of trading with it is to block it with a Deathgorge Scavenger, which removes the source of life gain from future life gain.
I mean, every attack because I'd start attacking with Deathgorge Scavenger instead of Hydra now to gain that life back.
Yeah, and he's Rampaging Ferocidon.
Also, players can't gain life, so Deathgorge Scavenger shut down pretty effectively. Now, everything that the team of deck does, if you play a creature, if you activate an ability, it's all punishing you. So it's looking pretty dicey for Chris.
Yeah, another Chandra's Defeat.
But another Chandra's Defeat on the Ferocidon.
Yeah.
So
that was an important card to have.
Yeah.
Drawn, both of them drawn quite a few sideboard cards, which is going to be it's just such an efficient way to keep yourself in the game.
Yeah, the lack of drawing reach spells in this point has kind of cost Marcus the game.
And he's exiled the other Earthshaker Kenra to gain another 2 life. Chris is kind of stabilizing.
Avoid that second Eternalize.
No, he just exiled a Rampaging Ferocidon.
Oh, it was a Ferocidon. Oh, so he didn't have
If there wasn't a second Earthshaker Kenra, I would definitely have unearthed it in my turn if I were Marcus.
Ah, yeah.
just because the Death Course scavenger is going to happen.
And a cub post-combat. We haven't seen too much cub action in our feature matches so
Still
far.
a fine blocker here, and it's going to represent a lot of damage and a lot of lethal pressure here. Though another anemic Soulscar Mage.
Yeah.
I swear every time I see Soulscar Mage, it's just incredibly unimpressive.
Yes, absolutely.
It's never been particularly good, and you have to play in such an... and a Glory Bringer off the top has probably just sealed this game for Chris.
This game's over.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to game 3 here, which is it's fitting. We've had a bunch of close games.
Exerting, killing the Harsh Mentor, enabling those activated abilities to be up again, and this is just like chump block city for Marcus. And taking 4 and a bunch of damage. Yeah. Okay, so going to the big game 3.
It's fitting that we would have the championship decided by a game 3
between the two big archetypes, and there's some really interesting decision points to be made here.
All right, that's a game worth watching all over again, isn't it? Fantastic.
So
stuff.
much going on, like
Chris
the
was
red
just
deck
hanging
seems
on
so,
and hanging
Marcus
on.
with red seems so far ahead, but like you said, he didn't draw those.
Yeah, he really needed to draw
critical reach spells.
I wonder how many cards like Lightning Strike or whatnot he had left in his deck. I presume he just has all of them still.
That's the thing, what they're saying, like...
you wouldn't ever take Lightning Strike out.
Ramming up red having an inevitability of winning. You see a game like that and you think, no.
What inevitability?
But you had him on the ropes. It didn't happen
But when you draw the wrong, 20, 25 cards of your deck...
You draw the wrong 20, 25 cards in a row, and...
you might lose that game.
You're on the ropes.
It's funny that you would wind up being unhappy about getting 5 spells off Imbo Matt Courier, but...
you're just like, man.
I would have traded them all in for a single Ramen Up Ruins in that spot.
Yeah, had enough deserts to seal it over a few turns.
Yeah, and a life total to take a few turns to do it.
Any cards that have been in play that you're going to dump off?
If I'm Marcus, I'm kind of looking at that Chandra's Defeats that I cast in that game. Like, I drew the card that I sideboarded in, and it was very ineffective.
Yeah, you killed a 2/3, and you killed a...
You traded it for 2/3, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but these are, like you said, these are archetype decks, aren't you? Just given a hypothetical being in this situation, you would know which cards you're going to sideboard.
Yeah, generally, coming into a tournament like this, know what the big matchups are, have a very clear sideboard guide for it, and then you adapt that on the fly depending on how you see they sideboard. Like the Harsh Mentors and Ferocodons, he's obviously keeping in the main deck, but it's kind of like he's pre-sideboarded against it. So the red decks. You think he's taking the Chandra's Defeats out?
I would take the Chandra's Defeats out. They just seem so anemic.
The Harsh Mentor, though, on the Rampaging Frostodon just seemed perfect against the team, right? That was
you saw how much it shut down everything that the team and deck wanted to do there.
It forced Chris to make decisions earlier than he wanted to as well. He had to choose how to spend his energy before being given the luxury to find out what the game would look like. No, those cards are very powerful, especially if they get into play before Will of Virtuoso comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm taking out Chandra's Defeat, and I'm really looking hard at Aethersphere Harvester. I think that it might not look like the card you want in this matchup because the life gain is so irrelevant, but
you saw in that mid-game where the board was gummed up, there's nothing really to deal with it.
It's just a little bit of extra reach.
Just a straight flying, actually.
Yeah, it kind of
Glory Bringers are out there.
It turns someone into a game of limited a lot. This matchup because both decks are just full of creatures, and some guys, some decks' creatures are bigger than the other decks' creatures, and you kind of got to make sure your things line up effectively against theirs. It plays out a little bit like that.
What is that around Glory Bringer's neck anyway?
It's the bolus symbol.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? It doesn't.
I think they have
like the horns.
They have pet dragons.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's always when I see it. That's what I think.
One of the gods' pets or something. I don't know.
It's got it chained up outside the front door.
Let's read the flavor text and find out what the initiates face in the final trial is completely at Hazaret's discretion. It's her pet dragon.
Yeah.
There you go.
And as per usual, there's some dudes down in the foreground getting
blown up by fire. Yeah.
Well, the whole bringing of glory in Amonkhet was surrounded around dying valiantly, trying to complete one of those trials. If I've been, if my lore understanding is correct.
What are your predictions for the next few flavors of Magic sets? I think Viking set has to be coming soon. Has to be coming soon.
Definitely.
Just reminded me of the whole Valhalla kind of dying in.
And of course, if you got Vikings, you would have ninjas.
No, I think they've had enough of tribal mishmash.
Vikings versus ninjas.
Vikings versus ninjas.
That's what the people have wanted for years and years.
And then you need some sort of random beast type thing then for them to ride upon.
The Vikings.
And the ninjas.
Oh, and the ninjas. Sure.
Or maybe just generic sea beast things. The Leviathans.
Yeah.
Just huge
You can't have a tribal. You can't have tribal leviathans. They're all just so big that you can't build a leviathan deck. It has like
with,
3
dragons,
leviathans.
Dragons of
Start off with
Tarkir as well.
eels, and then work your way up before.
But you don't want like a 2-mana leviathan, though, do you?
I know you'd be.
It's not really a leviathan. It's just a thin or whatever. I guess.
Anyway, back to standard. Chris Shah got Attune with Aether, turn 1, so he's going to actually be able to set up his mana pretty efficiently. It doesn't look like he has an untapped green source.
Yeah, his hand is dicey. I don't know how much I like his hand. His hand is tap land.
Yeah, how do you feel about tapped Rootbound Crag? It looks like he's keeping.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to mulligan it, but it's also one that can really be quite dangerous if he doesn't throw an untapped land on turn 2.
You're a turn behind constantly.
Yeah,
right?
especially taking the first 2 turns off on the draw is not where I want to be. But
card of the tournament, Bomac Curry, but he drew the Botanical Sanctum.
Card of the tournament, Botanical Sanctum, let's be perfectly honest.
Attune with Aether, which is now just perfectly set up.
Get him out, and then the rest of his lands come and play untapped from here. This is a great spot for Chris.
Saw 7 of the Conduit in his hand as well. I did just see a glimpse of a Glyph Keeper, so he did keep that card in.
It's consistent. He brought it in previously. He'll bring it in again, I presume. It does a good job, I think, Glyph Keeper. It's not vulnerable to the falter effects. It's difficult for him to burn out of the way, and it kills them quickly. It fits in with the kind of Thopter beatdown plan.
That situation we saw before where he had gummed up the ground so the red deck couldn't get through, and now you attacking with Hydra, every now and then they can just chump block that and then burn you out.
It also cleanly answers Glorybringer as well.
It does.
It sits in the sky, blocks, but doesn't get killed by Glorybringer.
2 Bomac Couriers now. Card of the tournament, Bomac Courier. We called it earlier.
Another good start for Marcus.
Yeah, fantastic start for Marcus.
No other Wonder to follow it up, though, is a little bit troubling, unless he has a shock for this Servant of the Conduit.
Which would be very optimal. You got 3 cards under your first one, 2 cards under the second one if they both survive.
Yeah.
7 of the Conduit here. It's going to eat a shock.
It's getting shocked. I saw the shock as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's eating a shock. It's going to the bin.
This is where I might accidentally click on my Bomac Courier after I'd added red mana, then mana pool and Magic Online.
You sacrifice it and discard your hand.
Trust me, I've done it.
It's a Magic Online
a special feature.
It's a feature, not a bug. And again, really optimal start for Marcus. He couldn't be happy with this, probably. Shock to interact with the early blockers. Earthshaker, Kenra, Bomat. Yeah. Just dumping his hand. He's got cards underneath those couriers.
Yeah, and he'll have 2 or 3 cards in his hand at this point in time, which
means
that
Virtuoso would shore it up a little bit.
Virtuoso is exactly what Chris needed to stabilize him, which is probably why he kept what looked like a relatively slow 7-card hand.
Because it seems hard on it.
Yeah, because it's so important to you. Though it seems that he did probably have some untapped lands in his hand. The Velo Virtuoso really lets him save, especially because he went energy card on turns 1 and turns 2.
That's true,
So there's 2 Thopters available to be made here. It's going to be difficult for...
so I might rescind my my Bomac Courier card of the tournament thing here. No, it's coming back again. Yeah,
no, he's back. He's good.
So we're trying to probably just blowing up the Virtuoso, but then you don't have fantastic attacks.
I don't think I'm blowing up Virtuoso here.
You're just going to use it to grind out cards.
Yeah, I'm just ticking it up and forcing Chris to make action against it because it forces him to kind of commit Thopters in the air.
Yeah.
Yep, take 2. Yep, I like this play because if you just minus it, Chris just makes 2 Thopters and you don't have any good attacks, and then he just gets to kill Chandra.
The red deck in the unique position of kind of protecting the queen now because you have bodies on the ground to protect your Chandra, and you're going to grind out advantage, deal damage, and then possibly get it up to the
and
ultimate.
You see what happens by ticking up here. He's kind of forced Chris to spend his energy making Thopters and then send the Thopters on the offensive rather than on blocking duty. So that later on, this is another Will of Virtuoso. No, it's a Rogue Refiner, which gives another Thopter overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the pressure is on Chris here to interact with that Chandra and keep the Chandra under wraps here, which removes blockers which removes the Thopters as potential blockers. And Marcus is going to untap here with Chandra, and Chandra's going to be on a healthy 3 loyalty going up to potentially 4.
Yeah, which still requires another attack from the Thopters.
And here comes
Virtuoso possibly coming in as well. He just wants to get rid of it if at all possible. He's going to take a lot on the crackback, though.
I'm not sure what I would do if I were Marcus here. I might just let Chandra take 4 and go to 1, hope to untap, just deal an extra 2 damage. Maybe not draw cards necessarily, but just deal an extra 2 damage. Just deal another 2 to the face. Chris is already on 9 life, 11 life, putting him down to 9.
And do you think him playing the Rogue Refiner pre-combat was representing that he doesn't have a 4th land to play as well?
It could be representative of that, but it's also leads me to believe
chumped the Well of Virtuoso.
This is an interesting position.
Wow.
The reason you might want to do that is because you want to go plus on Chandra to make mana and unearth Earthshaker Kenra right here, make Rogue Refiner unable to block.
And hit
and
for
that means
6.
that you get your attack in for six damage. And it
That is actually a fantastic play.
Yeah, he's going to do it.
Yeah, and he gave him the option by attacking with the Whirl of Virtuoso as well, rather than the more conservative just Thopter's attack.
I think both players did the right thing in this situation.
And is getting hit for 6 now. Chris is in a dicey spot.
If you're Chris here, you probably you're making a Thopter, but are you just blocking a Bomac Courier? You're taking an extra 1. Yeah, we're making a Thopter. We're trading with the biggest Bomac Courier.
Yeah, the one with 4 little presents.
But we're taking 5 and going to 6. And leaving Marcus with a bit of a board here. This is a very, very tight game. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to note you can't actually kill Earthshaker Kenra with Chandra's defeat once it's been embalmed.
Because it's black, because when it returns as a zombie, could come down to something like that.
Though an untapped land for the Glorybringer in hand here would be pretty good for Chris.
He did actually start with the 2 Rootbound Crags, so he does
so
have
he
an
definitely
untapped,
has another untapped land. Or maybe that he's just considering developing, casting 2 spells, maybe?
Glorybringer single-handedly would swap this around because Chandra's on 4.
Yeah.
It's an easy Glorybringer attack. You kill the zombie as well, and you can leave a bunch of Thopters and stuff back to block.
Yeah, this is...
Did you see the Glorybringer
I thought I saw a Glorybringer in hand. But no, we're just gonna shove 4 damage at the Chandra here and leave back some things to block. That's okay.
And Chandra's dead. Still pretty happy as the Teamer deck, but in a dicey kind of spot, though, right? Again, that reach under the Bomac Courier, you can draw 4 cards off it.
Yeah.
Any combination of burn spells and deserts, he's in a precarious position.
Oh, confiscation
coup.
Targeting the
spending
internalized
0 energy to gain control of the 4/4.
Yeah,
it doesn't copy its mana cost.
I believe it has a 0 mana cost. Yeah.
So just nets 4 energy, which you can put into his Whirl of Virtuoso.
Yep, making another Thopter. That's a big swingy play for Chris. It makes sense why he wouldn't play the Glorybringer. Mm-hmm. It's better to cast a card like Confiscation Coup while you can do it safely as well. Especially the Glorybringer is still going to do its thing.
It'll still be hasty next turn, right?
It'll still be hasty next turn, exactly. So we're in the situation again for Marcus where he needs reach or he's in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And the huge board state from Chris means that he's like 2 attacks away from killing Marcus.
Yeah, so 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we've got 11 damage on board. So Chris is just going to, he can essentially just turn him sideways from now on.
He's got 1 Bomac Courier to block it all with.
Yeah, and that Glorybringer that we saw in hand again is going to remove a potential blocker.
These games have been extremely
this last game's
tight.
been incredibly tight.
Extremely.
Need more lightning strikes here.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's tight, and Marcus is on 20 and Chris is on 6.
Yeah, but this is just the power of this energy deck that can just throw all of its threats at you all at once. Another Chandra here. Probably just having to take out the 4/4.
I think I'm going up. I'm just
going
to the face.
So you're just doming him.
I'm going to the face. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's got another card
for
to cast.
Mana to play a Soulscar Mage.
Is it Soulscar Mage, is it? And then
sacking the Bomac Courier. So that was the last card in his hand, the Soulscar Mage, so he sacked it to draw 3.
Yeah. This is interesting.
And playing the desert to ping him to 5.
And did he do the Chandra already?
Yeah, he ticked Chandra up to
add red mana.
5 to add red mana to play Soulscar Mage and sacrifice the Bomac Courier.
Yeah.
All right. We're on very slim outs, I think, from,
very,
from Marcus.
very slim. If he has that Glorybringer here, now is a huge turn for that, because Glorybringer and Thopter can just kill Chandra to stop him from drawing those lightning strikes and such that he needs.
So I think if I'm Chris and my hand is what it is, does he really? Maybe he just doesn't have Glorybringer in hand. I think I would have just cast Glorybringer in that spot, exerted to kill his Soulscar Mage, dealt 4 damage to Chandra, and another creature could attack Chandra, and leave as many Thopters back as I can to block against potential Glorybringers off the top. Because that's the way I'm really going to lose this game. So we're just
blocking the Rogue Refiner with his 1/2.
Yep. Chandra's going to 1. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Didn't commit a whole bunch of creatures to it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
To killing the Chandra.
Oh, he tapped with everything.
Checking his graveyard for more Earthshaker Kenras.
So Chris is representing lethal again next turn with that Glorybringer that we believe he has in hand.
And a Deathgorge Scavenger to kind of pad his life total.
Yep.
Okay, so he's playing pretty conservatively. There's not too much to deal the full 7 points of damage from the
7
red
is
deck.
kind of something that can't really happen. Though, from Marcus's perspective, Chris doesn't have lethal next turn, so maybe he thinks he gets another turn. You know, the patience with the Glorybringer by Chris has been pretty solid, especially since he's had other options to pad his life total and remove potential outs from Marcus.
Marcus has drawn a Hazoret, but has 3 cards in hand from that juicy Bone cash, and so it's kind of there's not a good place to play it. He's got chump blockers back. I think Marcus might actually.
He's got to dump 2 cards.
Yeah, how's he going to be able to do that? The clock is ticking for Marcus to draw.
Take 2.
It's just taking 2.
5 life. I think we're going to see Chris take it out here. It doesn't seem like there's too much that Marcus can do here. If he thinks he can buy another turn, then then so be it.
3 mana, 4
Rampaging for Ferocidon. Yep. So if he has like a removal spell here, I think maybe he might be okay.
Who, Marcus?
Marcus might get another turn. But
one of the cards is Hazoret.
Trying to find something to deal 5 damage is going to be quite difficult.
So if Chris makes an all-out attack...
At this point, I just have to assume he has no Glorybringer in hand. Yeah, Chris just being careful here. You know, you got it in the bag. You don't want to go throwing it away. You got to make sure every little possible thing has been thought of. And Abrade
is the Abrade on the single blocker.
And here comes everything.
And here comes all of the cards.
So 5,
Deathgorge Scavenger probably going to
10, 11,
be
12,
attacking for
13,
4,
14, 15.
8.
If he removes a non-creature spell, he can deal 16 right here.
Didn't do it. He chose to attack the Chandra instead.
Oh, so he's playing around a removal spell from Marcus, which I think is probably relatively sound, because that is one of the outs. So, maybe that's what I saw.
Glyph Keeper post combat.
Maybe that's what I saw in his hand.
So no Glorybringer there from Chris, because that would have just sealed the game immediately. And Marcus has what appears to be a Hazoret,
a Chandra,
and a Chandra in hand. There's
no
way out of it for Marcus.
This is one of those things where you sit there and think, am I going to concede prematurely or not?
Should I play it out?
You got nothing to lose when you're going to die anyway, so you might as well make sure you're not throwing it in too early.
Chandra here ticking it up, revealing Sunscorched Desert, which is just going to put Chris to 5, and the game is Chris's.
Yep, more or less Chris's. Yep. There we go.
Passing back.
Maybe he'll just attack Chandra.
How shall I kill you? I'll set everything at Chandra. Yeah.
Maybe he'll click through his attacks.
I've done that once or twice.
And here's the hand.
And here's the hand. Well, congratulations to Chris Shah, taking out the entire Good Games Magic Championship on the back of Team Energy. Some real big games, some real swingy tempo stuff against this ramming up red deck that looked like it should have been able to seal those last 5 to 7 points, but Deathgorge Scavenger coming down and padding his life total. The Glyph Keeper coming down and protecting him. Those big, 2 big turns where you get in about 8 to 10 points of attacking. You can be on 20 life and not be safe.
Yeah, the game ends very quickly.
They just get so big. They just get so big, and every single card's worth something. It's got such value, such an effect on the game.
We saw just two games in a row though for Marcus where he's got the game to the spot where he wants, and he just can't draw a single card that deals damage.
We didn't see any ramming up ruins, no lightning strikes.
Yeah, he didn't have ramming up ruins in either games 2 or games 3.
Unfortunate for Marcus. Well done making it all the way through. Ramming up red, real solid play today.
Commiserations to Marcus. Congratulations to Chris.
Going to the GP of his choice anywhere in the world. That's a pretty fantastic prize for playing some Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and thanks to Level Up Dice for giving us some dice on the table there. Lovely additions to it. And congratulations to all players.
Thanks, Paddy.
My pleasure.
It's been fantastic today. Thank you, Dr. David.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Aaron.
Thanks. Thanks to me. And thanks to Good Games for having us.
And catch all the interviews with the players on Seven Land Hand. We'll have a Magic podcast probably mid-November. Keep an eye out for that. You'll be able to hear from all the players.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.